I've been eating carnivore for the last 365 days. Nothing but fatty red meat, whole eggs, occasionally some seafood, and some raw dairy products. This time last year, I was on a pretty standard Western diet, which I believe to be reasonably healthy and balanced, but I was miserable. I was suffering from severe depression and anxiety. I had acid reflux, which was a daily thing for me, and just very low energy, so lethargic. I struggled to get up in the morning and start my days. I also had acne on my back. For the last 11 months, I can honestly tell you that every single one of those physical and mental ailments have gone.
It's gone.
I don't deal with any of those anymore, and there's so many other benefits that I discovered. I don't sweat so much. I put that down to the fact that most toxins are found in plants. I don't burn in the sun, so that's because plants increase photosensitivity. The whole reason for me going on this diet was the fact that I was depressed, and I'd stumbled across an anecdote from Michaela Peterson talking about how she reversed her autoimmune diseases and resolved her depression and her anxiety and things like that. So I thought, I have to try this. This sounds incredible. But I don't know if I really 100% believed in it, But 3 weeks later, lo and behold, depression was lifted. I felt great. I was smiling. I felt genuinely happy for the first time in ages. This is hard not to share, and I'm going to try and do it without sounding preachy. I wouldn't push anything on anybody, but I just felt it's just worth sharing because it's unbelievable, really. So my depression is gone. Okay, I don't feel like I have the same kind of mental fog or mental health problems. I have more energy in the morning. I wake up very easily. I'm more tired at night. I just have better mental clarity. I had chronic acid reflux. That's gone, deceased. And it's so sustainable. It's crazy. You can eat fatty red meat and eggs and you just feel great for the rest of the day. A lot of people get away with eating one meal. I unfortunately don't have a colon, and that's actually why I was depressed in the first place. It was a consequence of my previous surgery. So back in 2012, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is an inflammatory bowel disease with some pretty nasty symptoms. Dealt with it for a couple of years and then went on medication. And I was on this medication for 3 years, leading up to the point where I needed to have my entire colon removed. So the medication, all medications, they don't work. They don't ever treat or cure the source of your issue, and so they treat the symptoms and you feel better. They never address the root cause, that source of why it is that you're suffering with whatever you're suffering with. So it was pretty clear to me after this, I took this medication for 3 years, didn't help me because there I am in hospital having my whole colon removed.
It's gone.
As a consequence of that surgery, with the way it felt and the aesthetics and things like that, I basically fell into depression, and this went in and out, but towards the end, it got pretty bad, and I was looking for some help. I basically started what's known as the BBBE challenge, so beef, butter, bacon and eggs. It was a pretty easy concept to grasp, and so we just jumped straight in, which I wouldn't recommend actually. You should probably take it slow, transition slowly if you're going to try this. This diet is so transformative for people that have autoimmune diseases, that have mental conditions, depression, anxiety, bipolar. I would argue that if you've got Alzheimer's or dementia, if you catch it early enough, the best thing you could probably do is go on a carnivore diet. Meat is so healing, it's very therapeutic. Your brain runs so much better on ketones than just glucose all the time. You don't crash with your energy, and therefore I don't think you crash with your moods. Everything's regulated and stable, and I think that that's another reason why your brain fog goes, the anxiety goes, your depression goes, and you just feel awesome. I feel very lucky to be in this situation where I feel like I've got a second chance at life, because there were times where I felt like there wasn't any moving forward in any way, shape or form. So for me to feel the way I feel now, just light. I feel lighter navigating the world. I feel light in my head. I don't have these super racy thoughts, and the neuroticism doesn't get the better of me anymore. I'm able to overcome situations and address the problems, I guess, by not shunting them and pushing them aside. I didn't even know how to move forward. Sometimes I would freeze. I came home and I would feel paralyzed. I wouldn't know how to move forward in a positive way, and I was honestly scared about what I might be capable of doing. There were moments when it got a little real, and it was honestly pretty scary. I hated life, and I would wish certain things of my life, but sometimes when you're truly faced with those situations, it becomes very real, and that's not necessarily what you want. To come across some great authorities in this space and this community, and I owe a lot to people like Kendi Berry, Bart Kay, Anthony Chafee. There's many on the list, honestly. There's so many people that have had very useful things to say that's guided me and kept me on track. But this new way of life I just feel like I want to share and spread this message, how important diet is, certainly for depression, how important your diet is if you have IBD. I mean, the fact that the doctors that I dealt with never asked me about my diet, they really, really need to get on top of the fact that fibre is an issue. It is the be-all and end-all when it comes to IBD, IBS, diverticulitis. You're pretty much allergic to fibre because you can't afford to have a reaction. Like, you're having a negative reaction to something that doesn't break down. It's not going to break down in any human's gut, right? Only ruminant animals can digest and be nourished by cellulose fibres. But we're told, eat those fibres, that'll increase your bowel movements and the digestive experience will be easier on you, and that's totally false. The more fibre you have in your diet, the worse it is. Sure, you're going to have regular bowel movements, but you're going to have more constipation, you're going to have more strain opening your bowels, more irritability in the gut and gas and all these kinds of things. So if you have ulcerative colitis and you have Crohn's and you've stumbled across this video, honestly, this will get you off medication and in remission as soon as it's physically possible for you to. We don't need fibre, it's not a nutrient. I don't care what anybody says about the biome adjusts accordingly. So if you have a restricted diet, your biome isn't going to look so diverse, but it's adjusting accordingly, like it knows what it's doing. The fact that we feel like we can micromanage the biota in our guts is absolutely absurd. Sure, if you have a diverse, balanced diet, then you're going to have this diverse biome, but that doesn't indicate that that is superior, right? What is superior for someone with IBD is to stay far away from fibre. Fibre is absolutely an issue. If you have to have carbohydrates, I'm not advocating for carbohydrates. If you had to consume some, I would always suggest sourdough bread, white rice in moderation, and maybe even a banana. I know that's crazy for me to say, but bananas, at least in my experience, and I think everybody would agree that they're quite soft, they're quite pliable. It's kind of friendlier on the gut than something like celery, cabbage, mushrooms, onions, some like brown rice or something like that. So yeah, absolutely look into this diet. It can save your life. It can prevent you from taking unnecessary medication and get you out of trouble before you need a surgery like I've had. It sucks. You don't want to go through this unnecessarily. And the whole reason I've set up this YouTube channel, the whole reason I'm making this video right now is to try and help people that are either depressed and don't have any help, or they're kind of like, what do I do? How do I get out of this dark rut that I'm in? Or someone who suffers with Crohn's or colitis or even IBS and diverticulitis. Fibre is absolutely the enemy. And the moment you can wean off your carbohydrates, you get rid of those fibrous foods, you're going to feel great. And you can thrive, and you can start to feel like an actual human being without being on these medications. And it's just a nightmare. It's not sustainable. If you think that you can go on medication for decades and not pay for that in some way, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot. Like, don't make that mistake. And I was an idiot, for even going down to the doctors and going, oh, cool, they haven't even addressed my diet. They haven't asked me about spicy foods and alcohol and fibre intake, but here's some drugs, oh yeah, that's cool, I'll get better. It's like, no, wake up. That's just the wrong way to look at it. I don't honestly know exactly what was the specific culprit, whether it was sugar in general, whether it was a combination of sugar and fibre, whether there was some anti-nutrients and plant defense compounds that I was having a bit more of an adverse effect to. I really don't know, but I tell you what, there's no way I'm ever consuming another plant food because I feel so damn good on this diet. And I know how I felt before, and it was miserable. I felt trapped. It was super restrictive. People say like, oh, I couldn't do that, it's super restrictive. I have a full, healthy life with a great outlook. There's nothing restrictive about that. And I would honestly encourage absolutely anyone, if you're a human, you should be on the proper human diet, as Kendi Berry's coined, and it's so true. If you look at the history of humans, pre-human and modern human species, you look down like anthropological roots, you see like the skeletal structures that they find around the world. They perform isotope testings, and the stable isotope testings, what that indicates, the cave paintings. Look at the humans that are out in the wild. What do they eat? If you're going to thrive, what do you eat? Look at survival channels. You could even just go by such a basic concept of what does the body need, what is essential, and where is that found? Because carbohydrates aren't essential. Sugar is not essential. Sugar is toxic. Fibre is not essential. What is essential? Well, coincidentally, they're all found in meat. The essential micro and macronutrients are coincidentally found in red meat. and whole eggs, some fatty fish, some raw dairy products if you can tolerate dairy. And if you can't tolerate dairy and you haven't tried raw, give it a try and see whether you don't have the same lactose intolerant issues, because a lot of people that I speak to at the farm where I get my milk and I get my cheese, these people don't have problems with dairy that's raw, but they have previously had problems with pasteurized dairy because they destroy the hell out of that product. It's like even the proteins are incomplete, the fats are incomplete, but the lactase is gone, got no lactoferrum, you've got no B vitamins, and you certainly haven't got vitamin C. So, and if anyone's wondering, yes, you get vitamin C in animal products. If they're healthy animals, they've been out in the sun, they've been eating their natural diet, and they're free to roam, there will be enough vitamin C for your needs because you're not consuming glucose. And there's so many other things. When you look into it, the problem with the Western diet, or even a balanced diet, is that there's way too much sugar, way too much glucose, way too much fructose, way too much fiber. All of these things, they get in the way of absorption. They're essentially anti-nutrients, right? Even fiber gets in the way of the relationship between your food and the wall, like in your small intestine, that's going to help uptake those nutrients. Anti-nutrients like oxalates, we all know, lectins, they're becoming quite well known, but fiber is an anti-nutrient and sugar is an anti-nutrient, because if you think about it, if glucose is competing for vitamin C absorption, that is an anti-nutrient. It's robbing your absorption rate of a very key nutrient. And believe it or not, on the carnivore diet, nobody gets scurvy, right? We all eat exclusively meat and eggs and fish and some butter, say, salt to taste, water. I'm obviously drinking raw milk, which has vitamin C, but even carnivores that don't, they don't have scurvy, right? No gum issues, no bleeding. I've got a lovely big 7-inch scar down my stomach. That hasn't opened up. I'm not worried about it opening up because we get an efficient amount of vitamin C on the carnivore diet. You're actually going to be very well nourished, so you're going to get plenty of B vitamins. B12 is one of the issues, obviously, in the vegan diet, and just things like carnitine, retinol, vitamin A, not beta-carotene, heme iron rather than non-heme iron, omega-3 fats, so a DHA rather than your ALA and all these plant derivatives. I could not speak more highly of this beautiful way of life, and I absolutely will advocate this to any human being, regardless of their health issues, in the present, or their history of health, whether they've had certain things removed. Like, you're still a human, you should certainly eat human compatible food, and probably the most human compatible food throughout history, around the world, what's available all year round, I would argue, is fatty red meat. Base your diet on fatty red meat. Add eggs because they're cheap and they're convenient. They also taste great. Salt to taste, drink water. If you're worried about losing too much weight, try some raw cheese, try some raw milk. But this lifestyle is fucking awesome. So I hope this is helpful. And if you've got any questions, feel free to drop a comment. Like the video, that really helps me out and helps push this message out, because I really want to help people. I want to reach more people with IBD that are suffering, they're in trouble, and they're just on medication that's not working for them, because this is a natural diet and nature just is. Like, you don't have to try, you don't have to force it, it just takes care of itself. So there you go, that's really all I have to say about my first year on carnivore. It's been unbelievable. It's been an awesome year for me. I've learned a hell of a lot, and I'm only keen to continue learning and spreading this message, because I think that all humans need this right now. So appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Cheers.